Not even 2 minutes from my home, I can descend into a canyon that houses the remains of the early inhabitants of the Medina River area. It has been covered over in a watery grave for more than 100 years. It was at that time that construction on what was then the world's largest man-made dam brought many major changes to the area. The effects of the lake and its drought flood cycles still have a huge hand in many aspects of the society that we call home. The fact that I can look out and see the fence lines, the house foundations, and the hand-dug wells in the lake bottom is a result of the lake and its cycles. Through the course of this speech, we will begin to discover that from construction to the present, Medina Lake and its weather cycles are a huge determining factor in the development of the society around us. Now let's start at the beginning. When the idea of an irrigation lake was first born, much preparation was necessary to turn this dream into a reality. The Indians, ranchers, and farmers who lived in the soon-to-be flood zone were forced to relinquish their property to the Medina Irrigation Company in preparation for the lake. According to the Medina Lake Preservation Society, medinalakepreservation.org, April 11, 2015, over 3,000 workers were brought to the site to construct the dam larger than any other of its time. Of these workers, 1,300 or so were Mexican nationals who had worked under Dr. Pearson, the general project manager, on previous projects. As workers moved their families and possessions out to the dam, MICO, the acronym for Medina Irrigation Company, was transformed from a dorm and a construction site to a little town by a lake. As one of the locals, Karen Ripley, stated in her book Medina Lake, the camp became its own little town that strived to be self-sufficient. In those days, transportation was very limited. Thus, in order to move equipment and people in and out of the area, a 19-mile railroad track was blazed through the forest to the nearby town of Dunlay, where it merged with the sunset route of the South Pacific lines. In the years following the completion of the dam, the surrounding area changed from a wild forest into the established towns of MICO and Lake Hills. Former settlers, dam workers, and entrepreneurs soon called this area home. Several farmer and ranch families who had been pressured out of their previous occupations found new ones appealing to temporary and permanent residents in the area. Pop's Place, Adolph's, and Seacats Park were all hospitable places for tourists and locals who were looking for a good time. One great unifying aspect of a community happens naturally because of individual religious adherences. As time went on, people started to find like-minded neighbors and form churches. Early in the century, St. Francis Chapel was established in MICO, followed in 1956 by St. Victor's Chapel in Lake Hills. Soon, Lake Hills Methodist, Baptist, and Faith Tabernacle joined the show. Another unifying facet of the towns is the fire departments. In the early 1960s, plans began for both the Medina Lake and the MICO volunteer fire departments. Although there was not necessarily even a fire truck, and with women making up for the shortage of male volunteers, those two departments went into action in 1962. Though we are now more than 100 years after the construction of the dam, the present-day towns are still drastically affected by the lake. Both residents and businesses around the lake feel the effects of the rise or fall in lake level. When the lake goes through a drought, adjacent lake property values go down dramatically, as do their wells. Even if the land is not adjacent to the lake, a lack of water does remove the appeal of living in the area. As the water level recedes, those who tap into the water tables around the area also usually lose running water. On the September 2nd, 2014 airing of KSAT 12 News, Maida Arthur indicates that businesses lose their pool of customers when the lake goes down. For many businesses, visitors are their primary source of income. Without the steady influx of visitors, boat rentals, campsites, and general stores struggle to stay afloat. Even restaurants are heavily dependent on the lake to bring them hungry travelers. So now in the middle of a drought, as I look out on the Medina Lake, only 3% full, and look at the surrounding towns of MICO and Lake Hills, it is obvious that the building of the dam permanently changed the Medina River Valley and shaped the lives of those in the adjacent communities. From the preparation for construction, through the birth of two towns, to the current thousands that live here, Medina Lake and its drought flood cycles have still guided the direction of the surrounding area. When one stops to look, he or she can see the fingerprint of the lake on just about any aspect of Maico or Lake Hills.